police leaders in the new community problem-solving area. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Jenkins.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for coming on this busy part of the semester. It's Thursday afternoon, beautiful fall day. As you already just heard, my name is Michael Jenkins. I'm an assistant professor with the Criminal Justice Department here at the University of New Haven. This is my second year on the faculty here, and already I have a lot to report on in terms of what I've been able to do with colleagues here at the University of New Haven. So the title of my presentation today is Bringing Police into the 21st Century, Police Leaders in the New Community Problem-Solving Era. What I'm hoping that you get from this presentation today is a little bit of what policing is in the United States and what it can be in the future in the United States based on this one in-depth case study of a police department, the Milwaukee Police Department. I'll talk a little bit more about why I chose that specific department for today and a little bit about the study of which that police department was a part. First, I'd like to tell you a little about the Center for Advanced Policing, which is a center that was established here at the University of New Haven over this past summer. I, along with some colleagues, John DiCarlo, who many of you might have in class, and Chris Settlemeyer, who many of you might also have in class, created this center as a way of working with police practitioners locally and across the United States to study what it is they do, to help them do their jobs better through the application of research methods and the science part that we bring as PhDs to the police profession. So in creating those research practitioner partnerships, we're hoping to produce high quality research and to, more importantly, get the findings of that research into the hands of people in the police profession and to get those publications in the right outlets and in the right way and written in at the right level so that police leaders can make decisions and understand the research that's being produced. So also in line with that, we have created, as of this past August, the Innovations in Police Management course, which is one of the ways that we're attempting to educate and train current and up-and-coming police leaders in police departments. This past August on the University of New Haven campus, we hosted 50 current and up-and-coming police chiefs from across the world, as far away as from South Korea and Tanzania. Also representing many states in the United States as far as California, Kalamazoo, Michigan, Las Vegas, Nevada, and as well as many chiefs here locally in Connecticut. We had presenters both from the practitioner and the academic fields. David Kennedy, who many of you may know from his recent popular book, Don't Shoot. We had Daryl Stevens. We had Lou Anemone, who was in the CompStat revolution in the NYPD in the 1990s. And so we had these top-notch speakers come and speak to police chiefs on the most innovative practices in both police operations and police management. Some other projects that we're working on, in addition to the Innovation in Police Management course, is, by the way, we received a $350,000 grant from the Community-Oriented Policing Services Office to continue that course over the next 2 years and to extend the course from a 1-week format to a 2-week format. So we're really excited about continuing with that, and it's as a result of the funding and a lot of the positive feedback that we got from our first trial week, we're going to continue that for at least the next 2 years. We also received a grant for a project that Danko mentioned, enhancing community policing through community mediation. One of the things that we see in policing, and that will come out in the presentation today, is that police respond to a lot of lower level calls for service, right? So someone picks up the phone call, calls the police department and says, my neighbor's playing loud music, right? Or I can't get my child to go to school for the 5th day in a row. Could you please come here and help me get them out of bed and get to school, right? These are responsibilities that police take on that many of us don't really associate with the police role. Many of us, when we think about policing, we think about the running and gunning aspects, right? Chasing down bad people, putting them in handcuffs, putting them in the car, bringing them to jail, right? We know that in policing, a lot of police time is spent in these other responsibilities that don't at all entail the investigation of serious crimes or arresting individuals. And so policing today has to account for how they could use their personnel's time in a way that helps solve those repeat calls and those repeat lower level problems, so that they can free up their time to respond to some of their bigger issues and to prevent crime, right? Actually stop crime from occurring. And we have examples of police departments across the United States that have been successful in this, but as we'll see, not all departments have done this as a whole. The police profession is still very much stuck in a certain strategy of policing, which we'll discuss in a minute. Other projects include a survey of police departments to see how unions might affect innovation in policing, and working locally with both law enforcement groups, criminal justice agencies, community groups in New Haven on Project Longevity, which is a focused deterrent strategy to reduce gang-involved member violence. So trying to stop gang members from shooting each other, okay? So now a little bit about the presentation of my research today. First, we'll have an introduction, what are organizational strategies in police departments. We'll talk specifically about the community problem-solving organizational strategy, and then we'll discuss very briefly facilitators and inhibitors to change as a police department moves towards the community problem-solving strategy. We'll go into the design and methods of the study, and we'll show the results from one of the police departments, the Milwaukee Police Department. In addition to this study that I'm presenting today, I also have included in my research studies of the Boston Police Department, the Newark Police Department in New Jersey, and the Los Angeles Police Department in California. Today we'll just discuss the Milwaukee Police Department. One of the reasons why is because the police chief in Milwaukee, Chief Flynn, by many accounts is one of the brightest and most innovative police chiefs that we have in our urban police centers today. And then we'll talk a little bit about, we have this community problem-solving strategy that we're going to discuss, but how is this strategy now going to move as our society changes in the 21st century? Historically, when we talk about policing in the United States and modern policing in the United States, scholars talk about three different strategies. The first being the political strategy of policing, which began in about the mid-1800s and continued until the early 1900s. As we discuss these strategies, you may think about your own police department and your own experiences with the police department and realize that maybe your police department is still stuck in a political strategy of policing, right? Not all police departments have made it towards the community problem-solving strategy, right? This is not necessarily a linear progression. Police departments move back and forth and in and out of the different strategies. But when we look at the police profession as a whole, we like to say that from the 1850s to the early 1900s, the police profession was under the political strategy of policing. Police acknowledged the service orientation of their profession, serving immigrant populations, helping them access housing and food services, maintaining order in very disorderly urban centers, right? It's called the political strategy because police gained their legitimacy and authorization from the political connections that they had with the local politicians. Police were hired, promoted, and fired based on who they knew in politics, right? If a local politician was booted out of office and you were a police officer who had been hired by that politician, when he left office, you didn't have a job. As you can imagine, that gave way to calls for reform in policing, wanting to reform the police profession to get the politics out of police and the police out of politics. And so in the early 1900s up until the 1960s, the police profession was dominated by a reform strategy. One of the ways that we sought to improve policing as a result of the deficiencies that we saw at that time in the political strategy was to introduce hiring standards, right? If you introduce hiring standards that are apart from any political connections, then you can ensure, theoretically, that the right people are getting into the job and that the police officers are not being hired simply because of who they know. We also see in policing, as part of the reform strategy, a move towards using technology to get police into the communities through patrol cars. So that introduction of the patrol car as a way of police patrolling the community served two purposes. One is it served as a deterrent, theoretically, again. This was later proved not to be true, right? But it served as a deterrent for the police to portray a sense of omnipresence, that when you're in a car, right, you could be in a lot of areas at any one time, right? You can quickly make it from one part of the city to another part of the city in just a matter of minutes. And if you randomly patrol in your car and you have a few officers on patrol, then you could create a sense of omnipresence, that the police are everywhere, that any time I turn around, there might be a police officer there ready to catch me doing wrong and arrest me, right? It also served the second purpose of putting police in vehicles, motor vehicles, is that it separated them very physically from the community, right? It kept them out of the community. And what we saw is, yes, that was a result of the issues in the political strategy where the community and the politicians were too closely related, right? But what we saw then is the opposite extreme in the reform strategy. We saw police get too separated from the community. And in the 1960s, we all know from our history classes, and maybe some of us from our experiences, our cities erupted in chaos, right? And who was at the forefront of those riots in our cities? The police, right? The police were the forefront of those civil rights movements, of those clashes between the community and the government. It was the police who were there. And the police, by all accounts, failed, right? They failed to maintain order, they failed to control cities, and it was an awakening for the profession as a result of other research that was being done at the time and commissions that were being conducted at the time. It was an awakening for the police profession that said, hey, maybe we better reconsider our relationship with the community, and maybe we better reconsider how we interact with the community. Maybe we better get back into the community so we can have a better understanding of what their needs are, what their strengths are, and how we could better work with them to prevent crime and reduce disorder and fear of crime. Okay? So that gave way then to the community problem-solving strategy, which is the basis of this talk today. The community problem-solving strategy is characterized by three main theoretical orientations in policing: community policing, problem-oriented policing, and broken windows policing. When you read the police research, you see that these are nebulous concepts. You ask 20 police officers what each of these mean, they'll give you 20 different answers. You ask 20 researchers what each of these mean, they'll probably give you 10 different answers, right? Nonetheless, we do have these orientations of policing beginning in the 1960s and 70s as a result of this move away from the reform strategy and as an attempt to get back into the community and have the police and community work together, okay? Today, most police departments, if you ask them, will say, yes, we're following a community problem-solving strategy. They may use different words to describe it, but they'll be discussing a community problem-solving strategy. And yet I'd argue that the police profession as a whole is nowhere near completely adapting this community problem-solving strategy. They could talk a big game, they could use the right words, they could write the nice grants to get the money to support a section of their police department to do some of this type of policing. But as an entire organization, it does not appear that the police profession as a whole is following this strategy. That said, today I will talk about one police department that has seemed to have made that move from a reform strategy of policing to the community problem-solving strategy in a very efficient way. And we'll see some of the reasons why that might be in a second. Current studies on community problem-solving look at policing efficiency as we try to police in a more efficient way and police with now these new budget cutbacks that our cities are facing, right? We have entire police forces being shut down. We have cities not being able to pay their employees, cities going bankrupt, and policing as part of our society and part of the government structure, policing is going to and already has shown ways that they are trying to adapt and work more efficiently. Unfortunately, what that has meant in the few departments that have experienced this is a return to the very basic crime-fighting model of policing that was characteristic of the reform model. Because the first thing to go when you have to pull funds and resources in many police departments is the community aspect. Okay? Just take a seat. You're not interrupting, don't worry. We also see innovations in criminal investigation units. So yes, we've gotten to a point where maybe we have a lot of patrol officers who are working on solving problems, working with the community to define problems and to come up with solutions to those problems. But we see that the criminal investigation units, detectives, they're not necessarily on the same page as that large part of their police department. And then finally, a move towards the true professionalization of police. Professionalization in policing has two almost contrasting definitions, one coming out of the reform strategy and the other coming out of the community problem-solving strategy. The elements of a community problem-solving strategy include function down here to demand entrance and demand management. When we speak of a community problem-solving organizational strategy, the function should engage community to solve an array of neighborhood problems. Their legitimacy should come from the citizens, not from the politicians solely, and not solely from the law, but from the citizens in conjunction with the law and politicians. When we look at the organizational structure and administrative processes of the organization, it should be decentralized. It should allow input from the bottom of the police department for those men and women who are on the ground, having input into the daily activities of the police department and the future paths that the police department is on. The primary tactics of the community problem-solving strategy include broken windows policing, problem-solving, and patrol, not only in vehicle but also on foot or in bicycle, to encourage those positive interactions between the police officers and the citizenry. Technology should support the community problem-solving strategy activities, and as we'll see at the end, that's the technology, I think, that brings us into this new era of community problem-solving and the use of technologies to collect information and intelligence, to analyze that information, and to get it out in ways that are actionable for different parts of the police department. Outcomes and measures. You could say you're doing community problem solving, but if all you're doing is still measuring the crime rates and crime numbers, right, then you're not measuring the quality of life of your citizens. You're not measuring, are your citizens actually happy with your crime prevention efforts or your problem solving efforts. External relationships, again, with the community. Also, we see these political relationships coming back into play. When you want to make change in a police department as a police leader, you're not going to be able to do it if you don't have the support of the community or the politicians who many times hold the purse strings. And then finally, how does demand for police service enter the organization and how is it managed? In the community problem-solving strategy, it's through community contacts and by actionable analyses by lower levels of the police department. Okay? Again, that's where technology comes into play, we see in the Milwaukee Police Department. Research on change in police organization as it relates to moving to the community problem-solving strategy focuses on these main facilitators and inhibitors to this change. We see training, structure, and leadership playing a predominant role in helping the police department move towards a community problem-solving strategy. We see the subculture, the police subculture. Those of you who have taken even an introduction to criminal justice course know that the police subculture is something that is very often studied as being very distinct from other types of professions. And that subculture, research shows, inhibits change in the police organization. People want to keep doing what they've been doing, right? One person says that the most predominant feature of change in an organization is resistance to it, right? Resisting that change. Lack of resources, obviously, is always cited, and unions in some police departments as inhibiting change. So the questions that I want to look at are, again, among these 4 police departments, one of which I'll present today, how do police personnel in these police departments view the community problem-solving strategy? How do they understand the strategy that they say they're employing? And what does that mean for the police profession that they view it this way, okay? And then finally, we'll see which elements in the police department facilitate or inhibit the community problem-solving strategy. Use the multiple case study approach. The cases are built using in-depth, semi-structured interviews with key personnel within the organization, mostly at the top of the organization. And so I complemented that with a survey of the entire organization and focused on oversampling of the lower levels of the police organization, patrol officers, line officers such as detectives and sergeants, okay? Personal observations of various forms of patrol, as well as intelligence meetings, CompStat meetings, daily crime briefing meetings, archival data from the police department, and again, the survey of sworn personnel. Just to set the stage a bit, again, these are the 4 departments that I studied. Today we're talking about the highlighted department, the Milwaukee Police Department, just to give you an idea of some of the demographics of the city, as well as the makeup of the police department in terms of its 1,940 sworn personnel and 747 civilian. Milwaukee, in this study, first you see this blue line is the U.S. average violent crime rate, and then you see the other police departments that I studied. Milwaukee is the red line, and you see that from 2006 down to 2010, it has the highest violent crime rate of the studies that I examined. I'm sorry, the cities that I examined, and all the cities are much higher in terms of their violence than the U.S. average. Property crime, Milwaukee does a little bit better in terms of the other cities, but still much higher than the national average. Now we'll get into some of these elements of the organizational strategy, and we'll see how the Milwaukee Police Department reflects or doesn't reflect the community problem-solving strategy. We talk about the Milwaukee Police Department function. We see that in the early 1990s, when community policing really became the buzzword. Right? There was a lot of funding from the federal government to do community policing. Researchers were talking about it. There were conferences for it. Everyone was all about community policing. And yet, people talk about community policing in the 1990s as initially being too soft on crime, or at least the perceptions of people in the 1990s was that community policing was too soft on crime, that it wasn't the police role to be doing this. It wasn't their job to be working with the community, to be attending community meetings, to be reading to students in schools, to be serving the community, right? And so the term that they use to describe that is hug-a-thug, right? Too soft on crime. They don't like it. Also, we start to see an implementation of broken windows policing as one that's zero tolerance. And someone describes this as across the board and everywhere, right? Just cracking down on every single person who's breaking any type of violation and using the full extent of the law against them, not using discretion, right? And we see discretion as a big part of community problem solving. Currently, Chief Flynn gets sworn in, and in his swearing-in ceremony, he harkens back to Sir Robert Peel, who is the founder of modern policing in London and therefore in the United States. And he says, the mission and the function of the Milwaukee Police Department, as I'm your chief, is to prevent crime and disorder and to reduce the level of fear in the community, right? To prevent crime and disorder and to reduce the level of fear in the community. We know that the fear of crime and the actual instance of crime are not very related, right? There's not a strong relationship. Crime could be going up, and people's fear of crime could remain the same. Crime could be going down, and we've seen this over the past 15 years. Crime's going down, and what's happening to people's fear of crime? It's going up. So what research has shown is that there's a much stronger connection between perceptions of disorder, physical and social disorder in communities, and people's fear of crime, right? And sure enough, you go to community meetings, police will tell you, I go to a community meeting, and people are worried about the physical and social disorder. They're worried about these things that police traditionally weren't concerned about. Police, no, we arrest bad people, we chase bad people down, right? We're not worried about making sure that your neighborhood is litter free, or that people aren't hanging out on the corners and intimidating others, okay? And so Chief Flynn comes in and says, I'm going to hearken back to Sir Robert Peel, who's the founder of this profession that we're all a part of, and we're going to not only prevent crime, we're going to reduce disorder, and we're going to enhance citizens' quality of life by reducing the level of fear, okay? You see Captain Reed. These are all, except for Chief Flynn, all these other names are made up. Their ranks are the same, but their last names are my own. We have Captain Reed saying that we're focusing on the problem people and the problem places. We see this in New York City, right? You pick up the New York Times, the NYPD. What are people saying? What's NYPD doing to its citizens, especially the black and brown citizens in NYPD? Violating their rights, right? They're harassing the citizens. And we'll see how there are different applications of that stop and frisk policy and different applications of what some are saying is a zero tolerance policy in the Milwaukee Police Department compared to what you might read in the news about the New York Police Department, okay? It's important that the Violent Crime Roundtable notes that we need to get our neighborhoods to be self-sustaining. This is a roundtable that was made up of community activists, community members who represented the most violent areas of Milwaukee. They had some criminal justice representatives, but it was mostly the community, right? The different social service agencies, interfaith groups, who sat down. They said, what are we going to do about this problem in Milwaukee that we have this violent crime problem, right? And right before Chief Flynn got sworn in, they said, one of the major things that we want is our neighborhoods to be self-sustaining. Healthy neighborhoods, healthy communities, where they can work with the police, where they don't fear the police. And so Chief Flynn was charged with this responsibility while he was starting his tenure at the Milwaukee Police Department. We'll see on the next slide that in my only open-ended question in the survey, that 75% of survey respondents recognize, they could write down in words, the crime, disorder, and fear reduction function of the Milwaukee Police Department. And so 75% acknowledge the reduction in crime, disorder, and fear of crime. And of that 75%, 17 also add, we need to work with the community to do that. So to me, that reflects some acknowledgement of this new mission. If for no other reason that when you ask them, they can repeat it to you. What this study is to see, can they not only repeat the function, but could they actually put that function into practice? And so other questions hint at really the perceptions of these personnel in my survey to see at how strongly they agree or disagree with certain statements as it relates to the community problem-solving strategy. And so the first three statements are on the relationship between disorder and fear of crime. They are the statements that received the strongest amount of agreement in my survey. So Milwaukee police personnel strongly agree that disorder and fear of crime are strongly linked. They understand that. They understand that this untended disorder, when police don't respond to this disorder or when the community doesn't respond to this disorder, it leads to the breakdown of community controls. They also acknowledge, taking that one step further, that the breakdown in community controls makes that area vulnerable to criminal invasion. Okay, so they're acknowledging these connections as a whole. However, among the highest level of disagreement, the statements that they disagree with most are those statements that deal with the Milwaukee Police Department's responsibility to intervene in disorderly neighborhoods and to work with the community to stop neighborhoods from being disorderly. So it suggests that while they know that this is their function, that these concepts are related, this fear of crime and disorder in communities, they don't necessarily yet acknowledge they have a role in making those areas more orderly. Okay, so they're not necessarily acknowledging their role in making those disorderly neighborhoods orderly. Continuing with tactics and technology of the Milwaukee Police Department, we see a focus on data, 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 data. And this is because the chief, Chief Flynn, is huge on data. He sees data as a way of justifying the actions of their police department. And so when a community group comes up and says, why are you in our neighborhood harassing our citizens? He says, I'm sorry you feel that you're being harassed, but we're here because we see that the auto theft rate is twice as high as the rest of the city. And we understand that a lost job in a city could many times mean, a lost car in a city could mean a lost job, right? For a person who can't make it to that job. They don't have necessarily the support that many of us have to continue making it to their job on time, making it to work. And when they miss their job, they can't make it to their job, they get fired, okay? And so one captain, Captain Wilson, who is the head of the Intelligence Fusion Center, talks about the problem-oriented policing model of SARA. And those of us who took policing should know that SARA means scanning, analysis, response, and assessment, right? You scan the environment. What are the problems? What's out there? You assess it. What is most on the minds of these citizens in these neighborhoods? What mechanisms do they have to deal with these problems? And then you come up with a response. And when you respond, you then assess that response, right? So, scanning, analysis, analyzing, what is the problem, how could we respond to it, then responding, and then assessing that problem, okay? How was my response? Was it effective? Wasn't it? If it wasn't effective, you better make a change, okay? You better try something else. CompStat and daily crime briefings, again, we're new to the Milwaukee Police Department under Chief Flynn, where every single day at 9 a.m., the police chief is sitting down with representatives from each of the districts, and they're talking about crime. They're saying, what are the problems that your districts are concerned about, and what are you doing to respond to it? Have you been effective? If you have been effective, that's great. Let's share that information with other districts, so if they have a similar problem, they can implement it. If you haven't been effective, then let's try something else. I thought it was illustrative that one person, when they were talking about these daily crime briefings as well as CompStat. The daily crime briefings are kind of CompStat at a lower level, at a smaller level. The CompStat meetings are held every week on a weekly basis. The daily crime briefings are held every day at 9. One person described the process, and others supported this in other ways. He said that if you came into a meeting and told Chief Flynn that we had a burglary problem, and the way that we thought was best to respond to it was to go on pogo sticks and jump around the neighborhood, right? He'd be okay with that. He wouldn't laugh in your face. But if you came back next week and said that your pogo stick patrol didn't work, then he'd expect you to be having tried something else or to come up with something else, right? And so that change in how the leader, the chief, deals with his subordinates is huge in policing, right? For a police chief to allow their subordinates to be innovative, to try new things, and to allow failure, and to hold people accountable for that failure, but not only hold them accountable for that failure, give them the opportunity to try something else, is really unique to the police profession as a whole, okay? Continuing again with tactics and technology, stopping the right people in the right places for the right reasons. Again, your understanding of the NYPD might be a good foil for what we're seeing here in the Milwaukee Police Department. The Milwaukee Police Department has undoubtedly gotten its personnel to understand the nature of these stops, the nature of their function in terms of pulling people over in vehicles or stopping people on the streets. It's not simply to produce numbers, right? You're not being measured on how many arrests you make, how many citations you write, how many tickets you write. You're being measured by the quality of those tickets and the outcomes of those tickets and those stops, right? When you measure someone based on quantity, then it's easy to stop a whole lot of people. And you're going to stop a whole lot of people that don't deserve to be stopped, that shouldn't be stopped. You're going to stop a whole bunch of people who have no connection in terms of their responsibility to the problems that you're trying to stop. And so in the NYPD, I'd argue, at least just based on the reading of news coverage of what's going on there, right, it seems as though there's a pressure on the patrol officers to produce numbers. Right, that's kind of the story that's coming out of the NYPD. Produce numbers. We want your tickets up. We want your citations up. We want your, I think they call 250s, your stops. When you stop someone, you fill out a form, we want those up. In Milwaukee, because the chief understands that that could be dangerous for the community and for your community relations, he said they're hammering down at all levels, quality, 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 right? Making sure that your stops and even the arrests that you make are serving some greater end and actually preventing some future problem or getting a problem off the street, not harassing individuals, okay? And it would seem to me, based on this stat on the bottom, that in fact the police department has certainly agreed with that and has acted on it, as proven by a 150% increase in their stops over a 2-year period. So their on-the-street stops and their traffic stops have increased 150%, and you see that their internal affairs complaints are down 26%. You would think that if you increase stops by 150%, you might see a little bit of increase in your complaints, right? But in fact, the Milwaukee Police Department, I believe, because of this mantra of quality over quantity, and then having the proper processes in place to manage that, they've increased their stops by 150% and decreased their complaints. And so they're getting the right people at the right places and for the right reasons. They're using their discretion, not zero tolerance, not willy-nilly all across the board carpet bombing areas, right? When we look at the level of importance that police personnel, again, drawing strongly from patrol officers, the level of importance of certain items to the overall mission of the Milwaukee Police Department, we see those top 3 are receiving the highest level of very importance, or the highest percentage of very importance in this study. Community meetings in which the community members and police work together to identify problems and create solutions in their neighborhood. Patrol officers maintaining a responsibility over a limited geographic area. And crime mapping. Receiving the lowest amount of importance as measured by the largest percentage of not at all important responses are the next 3. Rapid response to calls for service, which again was a keystone to the former reform era, the reform strategy, and increasing the numbers of arrests and citations, right? They get it that it's not that important to have numbers of arrests and citations. That's great. Now that middle one, the police force represents the racial ethnic makeup of the community. That suggests that the police department at that point does not see that as being very important, right? The reasons for that, I'm not sure. You know, maybe politically they felt that they were representative enough, or that, you know, people weren't calling for them to be more representative, or it could just possibly be that these other things were of greater concern to them. Patrol officers maintaining responsibility over a limited geographic area. Why do you think that's important? Why do you think it's important that a patrol officer on a regular basis is interacting with the same people in the same area? Jimbo. Build relationships, build connections, get to know, it's not coming up here, the right people, the right places, and the right reasons, right? Get to know who the people are who are the small minority who are causing the problems and who you really should be stopping, who you should be citing, who you should be arresting, right? And then get to know the rest so that you could build relationships with them in a way that is conducive to keeping that community healthy, okay? So again, the Milwaukee Police Department, as evidenced by this survey, does believe that that's an important part of their overall strategy. And obviously, community meetings in which the community members and the police work together to define problems and then come up with solutions to those problems is also very indicative of the community problem-solving strategy. We have to wait for this to load now. Okay. So as I said before, you're saying you're doing this, you're saying this is your function, you're now talking, you told me about the tactics, I've observed the tactics that you've used, surveyed you, and you've said that you believe in these different tactics and this mission and this function, but now are you measuring it? Because police would tell you, you get what you count, right? So if your supervisor is counting your arrests, you're going to give that supervisor a rest. That's how you're being judged, right? That's how you're going to separate yourself as a good police officer, if that's what they're measuring. And so measurement is important. Outcomes are also important. Again, outcomes as being different than outputs. And that's also noted by this memo on CompStat. Some problems could only be managed while others can be solved. You could produce results without satisfactory outcomes. That's also from the memo on CompStat. You could produce results without satisfactory outcomes. You could give me a lot of arrests, you can make a lot of citations, but still cars are being stolen or car accidents are still occurring that people are getting hurt in, if that's what you're trying to solve, right? Or robberies are still occurring. And so if you're just being measured, and this is what we've done in policing, we've measured their arrests, we've measured their citations as a benchmark for their productivity instead of measuring the outcomes. We know that you could get to outcomes, you could have different outcomes, right, based on your activities, and you get to the same outcome through different activities. We could have a very safe society if we locked up any person who was ever found guilty of any crime and put them away for life. We'd have a very safe society, right? And we'd have a great outcome. We'd have anybody who's potentially bad, we'd have them off the streets. But in our society, is that an acceptable method of doing it? No. Okay, and so CompStat, through this understanding of, yes, we still have to reduce crime. Crime is number one. Even the community problem-solving strategy, especially when you're one of the most violent cities in the United States, crime is number one. We also have to respond to fear of crime, and they've already told us that they understand that the fear of crime is a result of disorder in those neighborhoods. And so when you go to CompStat, when you go to your daily crime briefings, you're going to be measured by your crime levels from week to week, month to month, but you're also going to be measured by what you're doing to respond to those and to actually solve the problems and prevent those crimes from occurring in the future. I say that the organizational structure and administrative processes of the Milwaukee Police Department are the main way that the police department has shown this community problem-solving strategy. And we'll see that it's one of the main facilitators to change in the Milwaukee Police Department. It's kind of like you build it and they'll come, right? Or function following form, right? So you organize the police department in such a way that the function that you want fulfilled could be fulfilled. And so the way the Milwaukee Police Department has done that is through the decentralization. They created a neighborhood task force in which the police chief took 200 plainclothes officers, people who were in the intelligence units and the vice units, took them, put them in uniforms and put them back on the streets into the communities that most need the police presence, to show that community, police are here, police care, let's work together. Created the differential police response unit. In the reform strategy of policing, and I'd argue many police departments still today are doing this, your time as a police officer is taken up by responding to 911 calls. Whenever a citizen calls, we come, right? You call, we come. And the differential police response unit says there's a whole bunch of calls for service, a whole bunch of calls that we get as police that don't require a uniformed police officer to show up in a car and to respond to your problem, right? You can take care of this over the phone. We can, if you say that your next door neighbor is playing loud music and you'd like them to turn it down, well, guess what? I, as a limited duty police officer, could be at the police department at a desk, pick up the phone, call the neighbor, and say, hey, this is the Milwaukee Police Department. Do you mind turning your music down? If you have to, if we have to call you again, we're going to have to show up on scene and give you a citation, right? And guess what? That works. Let me just make sure I have the right numbers here. In a 1-year period, the Milwaukee Police Department took 28,000 calls through the differential police response unit. where you have someone who's on limited duty, sitting at a desk, picking up the calls and responding over the phone to those calls. They also administered a citizen satisfaction survey. So how satisfied were you with the police response to your call? Because this was a new way of policing in the United States, and especially for Milwaukee. They had a 75% satisfaction rate. People were satisfied 75% of the time with the way that that call was handled. And so it completely changes the way that Milwaukee's being policed. Because now between the neighborhood task force, which took 200 officers, put them in uniforms, put them out in the streets, and now all the time, these 28,000 calls that don't need to be handled now by uniformed personnel, you have all these people on the streets now who could have the time to interact with citizens in a positive way, getting to know the neighborhoods, getting to know the people in there, getting to know the strengths of those areas, and then respond to problems and prevent problems. Another huge change in the Milwaukee Police Department is the change in the Criminal Intelligence Bureau, their Detectives Bureau. The Milwaukee Police Department was historically a detective-run department. If you wanted prestige in the police department, if you wanted to go up through the ranks in the police department, if you wanted to become police chief in the police department, you went through the Detective Bureau, the Criminal Intelligence Bureau. And Chief Flynn came in, completely changed that around. Not only taking some officers and putting them into the neighborhood task force, but also creating the Intelligence Fusion Center, where, as the name suggests, they fuse many of those different units into one central location so that they could more efficiently get information out into the field. And he took leaders from the Criminal Intelligence Bureau, put them into the Patrol Bureau, and vice versa, got patrol leaders, put them into the Criminal Intelligence Bureau, cross-pollinating, as they call it, right? And of course, CompStat, the introduction of CompStat, which is a method of weekly accountability for your areas. So that the chief comes in and on a weekly basis is holding each of the district commanders responsible for crime and other problems in their geographic areas. And so just to summarize this very wordy slide, these are the elements that make up an organizational strategy. And then what I've tried to do is to summarize each of the elements as it relates to the Milwaukee Police Department's move towards community problem-solving policing. And so just for example, we see that the Milwaukee Police Department function has moved from one that, yes, emphasized community relations, but also was only focused on reduction in violent crime, to one that now uses a data-driven community problem-solving approach to reduce levels of crime, as well as fear of crime, and enhance the quality of life of their citizens. Another example, if we look at the organizational structure that we just talked about. Prior to Chief Flynn coming in, we see centralized detectives. We see no intelligence fusion center, no differential police response unit. And they beefed up the specialized units, the plain-clothed units within the police department. Chief Flynn comes in, he decentralizes the detectives, takes detectives, put them into the into the neighborhood task force and into the differential police response unit, and fuses these different units together in the Intelligence Fusion Center. So drastically changing the form of the Milwaukee Police Department. And so to conclude, we see that the Milwaukee Police Department, in my study, evidences a medium to high degree of overall organizational change. And again, I said one of the main reasons for that is the change in organizational structure and the administrative processes of the police department. Supporting but adding to past research, we see that the police leaders in all my police departments played a very pivotal role in making quick change. Whether or not that change is sustained is really the next question that we need to ask and that we need to consider. But they undoubtedly have made quick change within the police department, quick and drastic change. We see part of that comes from their being entrepreneurs in policing, as aided also by their coming as an outsider. There was an article by Dominic, and he writes about 10 entrepreneurial police leaders in the United States. I looked at those police leaders, did a little bit of a history on them, and found that of those 10 police leaders that he was talking about, 9 of them had come from outside of the organization in which they'd been working at the time that he said they were entrepreneurial leader. All of the police chiefs in my study came from outside the police department. And they come in response to some crises. When you have a crisis, you have many times, and we saw that in Milwaukee, you see the community, you see politicians, you see the police department getting on the same page. You have that police chief come from the outside. He comes with no baggage, no people who he's allied to within the police department, no allegiances within the police department, and he has the backing of that crisis to make change, right? It offers some legitimacy and some capital for that police chief to act in new and innovative ways. And so I like to call that the entrepreneurial outsider, which acts as a reset button, right? We could just start over. It hasn't been working, and in Milwaukee there were any number of crises prior to Chief Flynn getting in. Let's try something else, right? Let me try something else. We see also supporting previous research, the organizational restructuring of the Milwaukee Police Department. It helps to gain buy-in at all levels. The bottom line is that the police are workers. Police respond to encouragement from their supervisors. They respond to wanting to be promoted and want to do a good job. When your boss is telling you this is a new definition of what we consider a good job, you're going to want to perform, right? And again, other research tells us that 80% of the police department will want to go along with what is happening in the police department. 10% are going to do it really well. The other 10% are going to be obstinate. They're going to fight change at all levels. If you have enough of these elements of the organization changing at the same time in the right manner, you can gain that buy-in, right? You could get those 80% to move along with you. And then finally, the reason why I'm calling this the new community problem-solving strategy is because some authors talk about the new era of policing. And what do they call it? The new era of policing. I would argue, based on this research, that we're not going to be in a new era of policing, and we're not going to be in a new era of policing, I don't think, in my lifetime. I'd argue that we have this Milwaukee Police Department, we have these other police departments in this study that were headed by some of the top police leaders in the country. And yet, even these police departments have a whole bunch of room for change towards the community problem-solving strategy of policing. What makes this strategy new, based on my research, is the role of data and technology in organizing the aspects of the police department. We have data analysis technologies and capabilities that are improving on a daily basis that can get a whole bunch of intelligence, a whole bunch of information together, analyze it in a way that's useful to different levels of the police department, get it to those people in the police department, and have them act on it. That's one level. The second level is we can interact with citizens in a whole different way. So in the reform era, we were worried because the police were in cars and they were too separate from the people. In the community problem-solving era, we knew that police and the community had to interact, and so we put them on foot and bicycle patrols so they could be more physically close to the community. And now we have Facebook, and Milwaukee does this really well. We have Facebook, we have YouTube, and the police department is continually interacting with its citizens in a very positive way, putting the best face forward, so that when the newspaper wants to cover that salacious beating that occurred, out of all the police officers in the Milwaukee Police Department, you have a couple people who do bad things, and the newspaper wants to cover that for 2 weeks straight. You could have on a daily basis, on a regular basis, the police department putting all these great things that their police department do very regularly, and to try to form and try to gain that legitimacy within the community through these technologies. They then use those technologies to get their message out, that we've used these other data analysis technologies to act the way that we're acting. We're not acting this way because some ward politician has spoken up and had an outcry over here. We're acting this way because we looked at the data and we see that this is a problem. We have your community members complaining about this problem. And I'll just give you one last example. Chief Flynn, you can look at it on YouTube, he spent 45 minutes at a community meeting as a result of accusations of biased policing. He went and he displayed data at the community meeting. He had each of his commanders there talking about the problems. These are the robberies, these are the car thefts that were occurring in your areas. These are the complaints we got about wanting us to do something. This is why we're stopping people in this area. This is why we're citing people in this area. And look at how we've driven down the amounts of robberies and the amounts of car thefts. And so to have a chief go up there, throw up a PowerPoint and say, these are the data, this is why we're here. We're not here because we don't like you as a neighborhood. We're here because we care about you and we're trying to make this community as safe as possible. And so with that, I will take any questions. Please.